Welcome back for another edition of Griz Tracks, football fans. I'm AJ Mazzolini, sports writer here at the Missoulian.
And I'm Bill Speltz, a sports writer and beat writer for the Griz football for the Missoulian.
And I'm Bob Meserol, the Missoulian sports editor.
And we have a lot to talk about today because boy did the Grizzlies have a miraculous win over the weekend at Washington Grizzly Stadium against the Cal Poly Mustangs. It was an overtime game that they had to block a field goal in the last couple seconds just to get a score to even force overtime.
Yeah, even head coach Mick Delaney of the Griz had to use the word miracle, maybe a minor miracle with the way that turned out. It's not often that you see a field goal blocked from that close in. It's almost like an extra point. Usually the kicker can get it off and get it high before they can get their hands in there.
Yeah, Jordan Tripp with a field goal block there, and the Grizzlies march down, score a touchdown, forcing the overtime, and then get the 7-point victory. But not much of a high-scoring game on either side. Bob, what would you see in terms of the defense there holding the Grizzlies out of the end zone?
Yeah, well, they did a good job of stopping Montana's run game, and it didn't help when Trayvon Van went out early in the game with an injury. That put the burden on Jordan Canada. And Jordan Johnson admitted after the game that it was probably his worst game of the year, and especially the first half. I think he was 4 of 12 with his first interception. And I can't remember if it was first or second half when he fumbled into the end zone as the Grizzlies were driving for a score. So there were mistakes that it wasn't all Cal Poly that kept the Griz out of the end zone. The Griz made some mistakes themselves.
Yeah, turning the ball over definitely hurts. It's something that came back to bite the Griz, and their only loss of the season at Northern Arizona this year. But let's talk about the injuries there. There's been quite a few Grizzlies that are either hurt and coming back or hurt and maybe missing some time, Bill.
Definitely the worst loss, the greatest loss is Trayvon Van, their running back. He's got the best breakaway speed among their running backs. And so it means extra carries for Joey Counts and Peter Wynn. They're both capable. They just don't have the experience. Even more important than having Trayvon Van in there, I think, this week, though, is the line playing a little bit better on their run blocking. They admitted that they didn't have their best game with the run blocking, and it's just going to try to be a little bit more consistent this week.
Yeah, it's a deep backfield as far as talent goes, maybe not so much on experience. And then on the defense side of the ball, the shutdown corner for the Griz this year, Anthony Goodwin, he dislocated a shoulder over at the Cal Poly game, and it sounds like he's going to be playing with a brace.
Yeah, they ordered the brace over the weekend and had it rush delivered. He was going to practice with it on Tuesday, so he's getting used to it. It should be a little bit confining, but it's nice to know that he'll be on the field. He's most definitely their go-to guy as far as covering the top receiver. The trouble with Eastern is they have 4 receivers with more than 20 catches, so it's going to be a handful for that secondary and the defense as a whole.
Yeah, against a guy, Vernon Adams, quarterback for Eastern Washington, just a sophomore, but he can sling it around pretty good. And run it a bit as well, like in their opening win over FBS-ranked Oregon State.
Yes, they played a much tougher non-conference schedule, beating Oregon State and playing Toledo tough, and playing Sam Houston State down there fairly tough. They didn't pull out the win, but Vernon Adams, in talking with him, he thinks that'll really help coming into Missoula. It'll be his first trip to Washington Grizzly Stadium, and they've kind of prepared him for the difficult crowd, but it's still his first visit, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, the Grizzly defense is going to be trying to keep the ball away from him, and really that'll be the best defense, just keeping out of Vernon Adams' hands in Eastern Washington.
Yeah, and the Griz defense has played, has done a good job of keeping the opponents out of the end zone. The last 2 weeks, they've given up combined 21 points. They do give up chunks of yardage. I think Cal Poly rushed for over 300 yards, and several weeks ago Portland State put up over 500 yards here in a Griz win. So, if they can keep them out of the end zone a few times, maybe limit them to field goals, that'll certainly help.
Yeah, this thing may end up being a bit of a shootout with all the offense and on both sides of the ball. And the Grizzlies' best friend might just be that home crowd advantage at Washington Grizzly, where they're trying to set a decibel record with noise level this week, which would be kind of fun. But that game again on Saturday afternoon here in Missoula, and check the Missoulian newspaper on Sunday to see how the game went. And again, tune in for Griz Tracks every week on Missoulian.com. Thanks for checking us out.